Why, hello, everybody. This is Eric Vierethaler of Sit Down by the Fire here with my next special guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, yep, I'm Owen Llewelyn. I'm an actor from the UK, and I'm currently the antagonist in a new horror film called The R.I.P. Man, which is going to be released soon.
Awesome. I certainly want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here.
Oh, of course, it's a pleasure.
Oh, yeah, certainly. So, how about that you tell my audience, so how exactly did you get started on your whole acting journey?
Um, so I sort of just got into acting originally from like when it became a separate subject at school, and around that same sort of time, I started becoming a bit of a movie geek, and yeah, like teachers would be telling me, like giving me compliments when acting, and then suddenly I'd be like, oh wait, I can be in the thing I love most, which is movies. Like it was that was the thought process of my
Mhm.
12-year-old brain. And I kind of never really let go of that dream. I sort of like studied. I went to college and studied acting, then went to drama school. Done plenty on and off like films and theatre productions over the years. Yeah, it's kind of been a bit itty bitty. Like I was sort of taking a bit of a break from acting after COVID, and then I got contacted to play this role, and it's all kind of like, yeah, it's back alive again, which I'm excited about.
Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, COVID really took the whole entire world like by storm. I mean, all of us had so many plans in 2020, and then yeah, and we experienced that major setback with COVID, which and then shook up the whole entire entertainment world. People and then stopped going to the theater. People and then were watching movies more so at home. And then and then by the time theaters finally could reopen, uh, you know, uh, I feel like that a lot of people like got so used to watching films at home that I guess it was just hard for people to adjust, to be able to go back to the movie theater again.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people as well, like a few people I know sort of got out of acting around that time just because I think a lot of people just found it impossible to sort of find work because everyone was a bit sort of scared to go out, and it kind of led to a point for me personally where I'd sort of set up I set up a business on eBay, and I kind of got settled doing that. So, and the thought of, I don't know, I think once you get out of acting, it's sometimes hard to throw yourself back in there because there's so much self promotion involved and so much, yeah, finding your feet again and getting used to it. And it can be a little intimidating when you're out of it. So, um, yeah, that definitely held me back for a couple of years.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And so then therefore it sounds to me like that this is your first. So this is your first film in quite a while then.
Um, well, I did one other thing. I did a short horror film last year, which again I just stumbled upon. Like I happened to meet the director at an event, and yeah, he just was like, "You'd be perfect for the role." And so I did that. It was called "It Would Bring Us Together," made by quite a popular horror film critic. and then and then yeah, then this was the second thing. That was the end of last. Well, no, that was the end of 2023. Sorry, and then summer 2024. Jamie Langland's the director of R.I.P. Man. I'd worked with him quite a few times, like before COVID, and knew him socially. Just messaged me asking if I'd be interested in playing the title character in this role, and sorry, the title character in this film. And I saw the script and immediately said yes. And here
Awesome.
we are.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, it's quite the opportunity, like to be able to play the title role in a movie. I mean, that is pretty awesome.
No, it's incredible, and I've always been a massive horror fan. Like it's always been, well, it's probably my favorite genre. It's definitely my go-to one, and I always used to say to friends like, my dream is to be in like a B horror film, and like have something that has a bit of a cult status or something. So, yeah, being in this, like, hopefully it might generate that. And yeah, yeah. So it's always been a sort of little personal goal to be in a film like this. So, and to play the killer in the horror film is quite a it's quite a special thing, really. Right?
Oh, it is, yeah, and yeah, and yeah, and I mean, one of the really cool things about horror movies is that like for independent films, I mean, as far as I can tell, horror films actually is one of the most profitable genres. So
Yeah, I mean, I think the director Jamie, like that's one of his main motivations to going into horror is because he's quite a new director. He did a film called The Cellar just before this, which is doing the sort of circuits around festivals at the moment, and this is his second one. And yeah, I think he was quite upfront about the fact that he chose horror because it's a profitable one.
oh, it is, yeah. And yeah, one of the reasons why is because horror already has that built-in fan base,
Mm.
like with all these horror cons and all that. And I mean, there are people like who eat that stuff up, and it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's a horror movie. Excuse me, people are going to be invested into your product. And so and therefore, it's more of a guarantee that you're going to get that return profit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people that will probably just gravitate to something if it's a horror, and like the cheesier looking or the more fun it
Yeah,
looks, like the better for me. Like as long as I feel like I'm gonna have fun watching it, I'm sold.
yeah, yeah. So, would you say that there was one horror film that you watched that made you a fan of the genre?
Yeah, there was actually. Candyman was the film that got me going with horror. I remember because yeah, my mum was always a massive fan of horror, but I never really caught onto it until I was, yeah, 12 or 13. And I just happened to Candyman was just on one evening, and I just it gave I was just absolutely on edge throughout a lot of it, and it gave me sort of feelings that I hadn't had from films before. And yeah, after seeing that, I got a bit addicted to the idea of horror. And because my mum was a big fan, we had like rows and rows of VHSs recorded off the television. So we had like all the Elm Streets, a few of the Halloweens, a few of the Friday the 13th, Near Dark, Lost Boys. I remember there's a load of them that were just that I got to just run through after that. And yeah, been an addict ever since.
Nice. And then there was that all-time saying goes that the rest is history, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and watched endless horror films since, and yeah, been a loyal fan to the genre.
Yeah, and I mean, just even saying the name VHS, it's like, wow, talk about blast from the past, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine go like a home now with just like especially the ones recorded off the television with those little white stickers along the edge. Like I couldn't imagine seeing that in a home now. It would, yeah,
Yeah, and and I just thought of this. Nowadays, if you watch a horror movie like on a VHS tape, knowing that VHS is not as good of quality, like as say like on Blu-ray and all that,
yeah.
for some horror movies, that actually can kind of help.
Yeah, I could imagine it would add to that sort of grimy edge to some of the films. And yeah, I mean, I haven't watched a horror film on VHS for a long time, but I know people like horror fans, like nowadays, they collect the original releases of the VHSs and stuff. So there must be something to it. Like,
Yeah, yeah, like, every time I would go to Goodwill or any store like that, I mean, people like whenever people would go to the movie section, like with the VHS tapes and all that, people always would be telling me that they would be checking out their horror films.
yeah, yeah, I think it's one of the genres left that people actually, yeah, that I think the fans are just so loyal that they do actually want things like a VHS collection, like relive that horror section in like a rental store or something. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I think us horror fans are a little geekier than the rest of the other movie crowd, so we like things like that. And Yeah,
Yeah, and one of the things that I love about horror VHS tapes, I absolutely love the artwork.
it's amazing, especially the 80s ones, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
especially like early 80s VHS look amazing.
Yeah, and while yes, the artwork you get nowadays, I just feel like a lot of it is just pretty lazy.
Yeah, well, I think I can agree with that. Like, it doesn't strike you like it used to. Like, do you know the original, the first Evil Dead? Like the artwork for that on the
Yep.
original VHS, it's incredible. Like, and it's just one of those things that, yeah, strikes you. And there's quite a lot of films like that. I'm trying to is it like the second Nightmare on Elm Street where he's like hanging up like this and there's the bus underneath, and that's a great.
Yeah,
I think that one, and there's plenty more that I'm not thinking of, but like. Um,
yeah, like even the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the poster of that, it's so simple, but it gets right to the point. But I just feel like a lot of posters nowadays where they have all the characters' heads on the poster, and it's like, look, I get it, that some of these movies like have big names that they want to advertise, but I just feel like it's just a little bit too busy nowadays, with a lot of posters now.
when you say that, it makes you think they all want to be Scream, right? Like, because Scream
Yeah.
did it really well with, I think Scream 2 when it came out, it had all the heads, and then every Scream film since did that. I think maybe the later ones didn't, but I think that
Yeah.
started the trend, right? That
Yeah. And now definitely the laziest posters that I've seen, like, was for the new trilogy of Halloween movies where it's just a side of Michael Myers' mask, looking sideways. And it's that way for all three movies. I'm like, now that is lazy. And the only thing that they did was just change the lighting on it. It's like,
oh wow, yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah, I can't actually picture any of them. I did see the first two out of the trilogy, but yeah, I can't recall the posters at all in my head. But I'll take your word for that. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and now I guess I'll give Halloween Ends this. I mean, there were some posters that had Jamie Lee Curtis standing side by side with Michael Myers, but for the most part, the primary posters used is just Michael Myers' head, his mask looking sideways. And I mean, it might be at a different angle and the lighting may be different, but it's still lazy.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And there's the sort of thing like back in the day, like you'd actually buy posters and stuff for these, and no one's gonna pull the edge for that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it's a shame, but hey, but what can you do, huh?
I mean, when you're saying about VHS tapes, though, the art have you seen the original artwork for the R.I.P. Man, like the concept one with it's like a drawing with the two blades.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
I think that would look great on a VHS tape. Like,
Yeah. And I mean, considering that, going back to what we said, it's that there is a niche market of people like who will take newer movies and then put them on VHS tapes. So I'm pretty confident that somebody out there probably will.
I hope so. I'd love to see that. It would, like, yeah, because it does have that sort of 80s VHS vibe to it. So, yeah.
So, and then with all that said, while making the RIP Man, did the director have in mind, to make this like a throwback to the 1980s horror films?
Um, Nothing was really mentioned. Yeah, he's never said that like he wants it to be like a throwback. I mean, we've all been sort of discussing on set and that about the fact that it's a British slasher film, which doesn't seem to be a very common thing. We're all saying like that is something that might bring a new little kind of, I don't know, a little niche to horror is the fact that a British teen slasher. I've seen a lot of horror and I don't think I've seen one. If I have, I've completely forgotten it. Which is yeah. I mean, sorry, that's not answering your question. Sorry. No, no one's mentioned about it being an 80s throwback, but hopefully it will have the same sort of charm as those films because they're thoroughly watchable. So
Awesome, yeah, and I mean, it's definitely possible that that might have been their intent, but I guess really the only way how I can know that for certain is if I just ask, if I just ask them myself, right?
no, no, of course. Sorry, I don't have that answer because no one's ever discussed that's actually what they're going for. But I know Reese, the writer, when he I mean, he's a massive horror fan, like seen far more than myself.
Mhm, yeah.
He was when he messaged me about the character, he was saying that he saw he wanted like some of Nosferatu in it, and then some of the Ripper from Last Action Hero. Those were his
Okay.
two references for the character, which obviously that's not, yeah, a mixture of 80s and night. Well, yeah, the 80s Nosferatu. Is it 80s or 79? I can't remember now. And the Nosferatu film.
I'm not really entirely sure.
No, no, I can't remember, but close enough anyway. And
Yes.
yeah, but yeah, those were the two references I was told for the character. So that's where some of his inspiration obviously must have come from.
Nice. And yeah, and I mean, I'm not surprised to hear about the Nosferatu one. I mean, funny you mentioned Nightmare on Elm Street is because that it's because that the actor like who plays the iconic character like of Freddy Krueger, even he also admitted that he also even took note like from Nosferatu as well, and that right there, like that just shows like just how influential that film was. Knowing that it inspired A Nightmare on Elm Street in some ways, and inspired the R.I.P. Man, and more than likely has inspired other films as well. And it's just kind of funny nowadays because now most modern audiences know Nosferatu because of SpongeBob.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a SpongeBob reference in well,
There
sorry,
was.
yeah, SpongeBob referenced it even. Yeah, I totally missed that one. I thought you were going to say because of the Bill Skarsgård one that's just come out recently.
Yeah. Which I mean, you definitely do make a very valid point. I mean, a lot of modern audiences also do know of Nosferatu because of that film as well. And yeah, the most common criticism I've heard about the new one is how Count Orlok now has the mustache.
Yeah, it's definitely a different Nosferatu for sure.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, to the other interpretations, and yeah, I mean, yeah, I can see how people would be disappointed by that if they were hoping for that classic look because it was quite a different, even though it followed the story pretty much to how I remembered it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was definitely it definitely was a bit of a unique take at the same time as well, especially with the character like Bill Skarsgård's portrayal of it. I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that maybe a lot of people complain about that, probably because it caught them off guard, since that they're not used to seeing Count Orlok with that mustache. I mean, it makes sense why they would put the mustache in there, since that, since in the original Dracula book, Dracula did have a mustache, and how, and even how the director even was saying about like that in real life that Count Orlok at this time would have had a mustache. So he was trying to go for that realism. I just feel like a lot of audiences just couldn't have that suspension of disbelief about that. And I just feel like a lot of people like were too distracted by the mustache. I mean, yes, I was caught off guard about it at first, but then as the movie went on, then I got more adjusted to it. So
Yeah, no, I actually really respect. I didn't realize that Dracula was originally intended to have a moustache, and obviously, yeah, as you say, the time period would have made sense as well. Yeah, I respect that a lot. I didn't realize that. I like that decision more now. Like,
yeah, well, there's an old time saying that you really do learn something new every day.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah. That's I can't see the reason to complain too much. It's just a mustache after all. But like, I see, I
Yeah,
understand how people are very precious about how a character is supposed to look. So yeah, I mean, the slightest difference.
yeah, exactly. And I also at the end of the day. It's also one of those things where you just really truly just can't please everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when I saw the film, it got a big applause, so enough people were pleased, I think. So
Yeah, exactly. Like I even heard some people complaining about how, oh, Michael Myers' teeth and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, his teeth are way too white. I'm like, does that really matter?
no, it really doesn't. It really. I never saw the second one. I quite enjoyed the first Rob Zombie Halloween film, but I did hear like some not so good things about the sequel. But yeah, maybe it was the teeth that threw people created all that criticism.
But yeah, I mean, I more so heard about the criticism of the white horse and Michael Myers being a hobo, but yeah, just his teeth being too white. I only heard that one once, and in my opinion, the one about his teeth being too white, that was pretty petty.
Well, I have no fear with that with the RIP man. My teeth are completely blacked out. And I have none in the film. So, well, that's not true. Actually, he collects them as he goes.
Ooh.
Yeah. So the concept. I mean, you've seen the 8 minute short. Well,
Yes, I have.
yeah, yeah. So obviously, like when he kill every victim he kills, he steals a tooth, and he's collecting his own set of teeth. So yeah, that's because he was born with a rare oral gum disease called anodontia, which means you're born without teeth and can be in quite a bit of pain from it. And yeah, his like calling card is he'll mutilate your mouth, take a tooth and steal it and keep it in his mouth guard.
And I mean, just knowing just how vital teeth are to our lives, for when we talk and especially when we eat, knowing that without our teeth, we're pretty much screwed. And so knowing that he's going around and taking people's teeth, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, and I think teeth are something that make people feel quite uncomfortable as well. People like people's teeth getting damaged. I know personally, like, yeah, it's an uncomfortable because people hate the dentists and people hate that feeling of your teeth being interfered with. And yeah, even thinking about some of the scenes I filmed with some of the things he does to people's mouths, it's making me wince thinking about it. So hopefully that that will translate to in the full film when it's ready. Yeah, there's some pretty gnarly stuff.
Oh yeah, exactly. And us mentioning this, it gives me a flashback to that one part in the Human Centipede, like where like the doctor like is beginning the operation on all three people, and then he pulls their teeth out. I don't know if you have ever seen the Human Centipede.
I have. I actually I have more experience with that film than some people. Yeah, I mean I've seen it, but like also I used to work in a horror attraction in about 15 years ago,
Oh,
and
nice.
they did a human centipede exhibition of it once, and I was fortunate enough to play the doctor rather than the people in the centipede. But yeah, for for a few days I was being the doctor with the centipede while people were going through a scare maze, and so yeah, I'm quite familiar with that film.
Oh yeah, I would imagine so. Especially since that you got to play the doctor.
Yeah, one of the funny things was they got the original actor Dieter Laser to come in for one of the nights as well, and yeah, I was just in the middle of playing it, and then suddenly he walks in and starts saying some scary things to the people that are in the centipede, and yeah,
Wow.
it's quite surreal, like dressed as him, and then suddenly someone else, yeah, he's suddenly the real guy, the real man himself walks in.
Wow. That is awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it was cool looking back. I mean, it was an awkward, obviously as a young actor, you're thinking like this is quite awkward, but actually it's quite cool looking back. It's quite,
Yeah, wow. That is awesome. And especially considering that, that's an opportunity that not that many people can say that they got to have, especially since unfortunately that he now has passed away. And so
I didn't actually realize that. I When did he pass away?
He passed away like 2020 or 2021, sometime around then. I mean, I don't know if he passed because of COVID, but all that I know is that he did pass away at around that time, which is a real shame.
Yeah, no, that's a real shame. He seemed a really nice guy. Yeah, no, I must have missed that information completely. I had no idea. Um, yeah, I'm really sorry. That's a real shame to hear.
It is, yeah, and yeah, and I mean, the Human Centipede. It definitely is a very memorable movie. Yeah, it's like even all these years after it came out, people definitely still remember the concept, and yeah, and I mean, and that really says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. I think the concept almost overshines the movie in a way, isn't it? Because I sometimes forget all the things that happened in that movie, but I will never forget like the visual of the centipede and the uncomfortable feeling of, because I think everyone can imagine how horrible that would be to be in that situation. And
Exactly. It just really makes you think, what if that was me? And and if that was me, I mean, anybody would rather say that if I'm going to be in that, I want to be the front piece because at least I can still talk and at least that I can eat normal food. But then afterwards, you would have that guilt, like about taking a big fat one in someone's mouth.
yeah, yeah, that would be a factor, I'm sure. It's making me think of the South Park parody of it when he's got the two bowls and he's just like, should I have the asparagus and cuttlefish? Or I can't remember what the nice thing was. And then he's like, you're obviously saying asparagus and cuttlefish. And he's like,
Oh yeah, and yeah, and it kind of goes back to Nosferatu and SpongeBob. Now a lot of people know Nosferatu because of SpongeBob, and now a lot of people know the Human Centipede because of South Park.
yeah, this human centipede.
Yep, yep, the Centipede. Yeah, and I believe Tom Six once said, like, who was the director of all three movies. He
Yeah,
said, "Yeah, that you made it big as soon as South Park, you know, like as soon as South Park makes an entire episode about something what you did."
yeah. That's true. That's true. And I'm glad to hear he was happy about it because it was a great episode and yeah, great parody.
Oh, it was, yeah. And I especially love about how they poked fun at about how nobody ever reads the terms and agreements like on iTunes or anything else. And so
It's the best joke because no one does. I like, and then the joke is he's always like, you do read them, right? And it's like, no. And like, you don't read them? And it's like, no one does. No one. Like there is so much, and yeah, no.
yeah, and then knowing that because of that, they actually agreed to be a part of the human centipede. Like, oh no, I did not agree to that.
No, that's such a funny joke, and I guess it sticks in everyone's mind, right? Like, I mean, it's no one's reading the terms and conditions still, but I think I've sometimes chuckled to myself sometimes when I skip past them, thinking about that joke.
Yeah, which I could definitely understand why nobody would ever read that because it's so long and nobody wants to take the time, to read all that. So
Probably wouldn't understand half of it anyway, and I don't think I've ever even tried, to be honest. So I've probably accepted a lot of things, and who knows? I have no idea. Just tick that box.
yeah, and honestly, I can say the same thing. I mean, the entire time I've been using iTunes and all that, I never have read it once. And I just go skip, 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 skip.
It's often like when you're just trying to, you're just trying to watch like a video on a stream player or something, and you're just like, it's like cookies and stuff. You're just like, I consent, I do not consent. You're always just like, you don't. It's sometimes just even a really small box, but you're still clicking I consent just because you want to get to what you want to watch, and yeah, or play or whatever it is. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And so So yeah, I mean, with the Human Centipede, I mean, they definitely really were willing to push boundaries with that movie, and it seems to me like that. It's only those who are willing to push boundaries, like who are the ones, like who will end up, becoming remembered, and yeah, and I mean, yeah, I mean, no one's ever going to forget about a concept like the Human Centipede.
No. Well, as I was saying, like I'm hoping that yeah, the things of parts of R.I.P. Man, like the obviously the mutilation of the mouths and this, and yeah, the stealing of the teeth. Hopefully that will resonate with people too. Maybe not as drastically as Human Centipede did, but hopefully it will still resonate with people, and people will yeah think of the R.I.P. Man when they think of discomfort with teeth and stuff.
Oh yeah, and so and then with all that said, I know you probably can't say much, is because that the movie's not out yet, but could see a sequel being
um,
made?
yeah, I can say that Reese, the writer, is already planning one. He's
Nice.
been telling me. I mean, I'm not going to obviously say like the ideas he's had, but like, yeah,
Oh yeah.
he's been telling me different concepts, ideas he's got for a sequel. So I think providing this does reasonably well, you know, if it has enough success to make a sequel, then I think a sequel will be made. Um, yeah, and I'll be looking forward to it. Hopefully.
Yeah, and I mean, considering that within the horror market, there already is so many sequels, like to a lot of horror movies, like Summer Party Massacre has had sequels, Halloween definitely has, Texas Chainsaw definitely has, and
Yeah.
Sorority House Massacre, has sequels, and so yeah, and I mean, I could definitely see it being possible.
Yeah, I feel like it's the sort of concept that has legs in the sense where it can. There's certainly more you can give to the story and more you can give to the character, and yeah, I feel like it's got room to grow. There's more. There's room for lore. There's room for more to this character. So I think hopefully we'll be seeing more of him after this film.
Oh yeah, certainly so. And so with that said, horror also has a history like of having other franchises meet, like with like Freddy versus Jason and so on and so forth. If you could have the R.I.P. Man fight against any other horror villain like Art the Clown or Freddy Krueger or Jigsaw or anybody, who could you see the R.I.P. Man going up against?
Oh, it's definitely Art the Clown. I think there's some slight similarities between the two. Like, I mean, obviously, like, I mean, a lot of differences too. And Art the Clown is obviously a supernatural character. Where, I mean, at this stage in the R.I.P. Man's in the R.I.P. Man's existence, he certainly isn't. But I think that they'd a face off between the two would be quite fun. And I think that the fact they're both silent killers and the fact they're these two pale-faced people that take quite a lot of joy in what they're doing, I think, yeah, I think the face-off would be quite fun between those two.
Yeah, and with the whole thing they mentioned about the teeth, I can actually see Art doing something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, hopefully he does. I'm sure Terrify 4's on its way soon enough. So hopefully,
Yeah.
well, I was about to say hopefully he doesn't before our film gets released, but it's looking to get released quite soon because they're editing it as they go. So we're actually looking in a few months to have the film finished. So we'll be, yeah, because that would be a real shame if Art the Clown suddenly did something massive with mouth mutilation and then like just before this came out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's the sort of things I could imagine him doing. So yeah, the similarities are there.
Oh yeah, certainly so. And and whenever I see on Facebook, like fans will say, who would win, like Michael Myers or Art the Clown, like or Jason or Art the Clown. I've been noticing a lot of people have been saying Art the Clown, and I really feel like it's truly because of how violent all those films are. So I have a feeling that that's probably why.
Yeah, what people are saying he'll beat Jason.
Yep,
Wow.
that's
Ooh.
impressive.
Yeah, I don't know because nothing stops Jason, right? Like,
I mean, especially considering that Jason is pretty powerful.
yeah, I mean, he died, and literally all it took was a bolt of lightning and he's back. And like, but then again, art like the start of the third Terrifier, where I can't even remember what was going on. I just something really weird was going on in that asylum cell, and yeah, so they're both quite unstoppable. But I mean, that would be a great face-off. That would be just to see what happens.
That it would, yeah. And people have been saying for the longest time, oh, who will win, Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees? I mean, both of them are pretty similar. I mean, both of them are pretty powerful, but a lot of people are saying, oh, well, Jason would win. And then one person used the argument, oh, Michael Myers would win simply because he never died in any of the movies. But spoilers for Halloween Ends, Michael Myers dies at the very end. So I guess people can't use that argument now.
Yeah, no, no, it's true, and I think I'd go for Jason. He has the size advantage, right? And
He
you could see
does.
if they faced off, he could probably overpower Michael Myers. So, and that
No, yeah,
machete.
yeah. To be fair, it also depends upon what incarnation of Michael Myers you're talking about. Like, if it's the Rob Zombie one, Michael Myers was pretty huge in that movie, and so if it was that one, yeah, he would have the advantage against Jason.
True, this is true. Yeah, I mean, it could go either way, I guess, but my heart says Jason. Like,
Yeah, which I could definitely understand why a lot of people would say that, but I just thought of this. Jigsaw, well, like with all of his traps, I think that would be interesting, like to try to see Jigsaw go up against Art.
that would be interesting. That, yeah, because Jigsaw wouldn't even be present. It would be all Jigsaw's traps and
Yeah,
situations presented, and he'd have thought about it. He'd have considered everything that art's capable of, and every yeah, that'd be interesting. We need more
but
crossovers. There aren't enough. There aren't.
yeah, exactly. It definitely would be interesting since the Art the Clown like is not really human. Art is more supernatural, and so therefore to see somebody supernatural going through all of the traps, it definitely could put a unique spin on all that.
Because must admit I haven't seen the last Saw film I saw was like 7. I think it was like the original set of Saw films.
Right.
But from my knowledge, like no one ever got even close to getting the better of Jigsaw. He was always. Did anyone ever actually overcome anything he did, or was it always part of his plan? Like I think everything was always part of it. Everything that happened was part of his plan, and whether they got out or not was it was still part of his plan. They got out the way he wanted them to get out, right? And
I Yeah, from what I remember, his original A apprentice Amanda, uh, she was able to get herself out of that like bear trap mask thing,
oh, yeah,
and in the first Saw, and then she also survived, being in the pit of needles in Saw 2. So as far as what I remember, it's been a while since I've seen all the Saw movies, but yeah, Amanda definitely did
but wasn't that
survive.
too? But it's not a matter of surviving. It was more like it was more they survived, but they learned the value of their life. Like, because was she an
Right.
addict and he wanted her to appreciate her life? So by putting her in that life or death situation, it's been a long time since I've seen them too, but I still feel like it was part of his plan, right, to make her appreciate like whether they live or die. no one ever did the thing that went against his plan. Like no one beat his system. Like they either did what they all did what he wanted in the end, like, or suffered.
Yeah, yeah, and and that's one of the things I love about the Saw movies is just knowing how, just knowing that he's not killing them just for the sake of killing them. He's not torturing them just because. He actually has a very deep, a very deep and profound reason
Yeah,
for it.
there was one. I had one little work with one of the Saw films. I think it might have been like the sixth one, and because I felt like every time in all his film in all the films, he never really killed anyone innocent, and it was always like no one ever really innocently died. It was all part of the plan, and it was all people having to that had done wrong that had to overcome these obstacles to survive. And then in the
Mhm.
sixth one, he had this whole test for one guy, and they had this whole sort of circle of like six people in chairs, and he could only choose one that lived, and the others all got their heads blown off or something. And I was thinking like, I might have missed something because it was a long time ago I saw it, but it always irks me because I always thought like, wait, at this point he's actually just set up like a bunch of innocent people to die just to teach one guy a lesson, and that felt out of sync with his message. I don't know. I don't know. It's something that always irked me a little bit. That bit.
Right. And I mean, it's definitely possible. It might be one of those things that if you go back and rewatch it, you and then might pick up on some things that you might have missed.
No, absolutely. I only saw that one once in the cinema, but I just always remember that bit stuck with me. Like it jarred me a little bit because I thought, yeah, usually there's always a he wouldn't kill anyone without giving them a moral lesson, and like those people were just there to die. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, definitely. And so, yeah. And so, but yeah, one of the things that I loved about Saw X, I know you haven't seen it yet, but yeah, a lot of people have been saying that that's one of the best Saw movies we've had in ever since the original, and it's because that they finally made Tobin Bell. They finally actually made him the main character, which is something what they should have done years ago.
yeah, yeah. He's great, and yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about the new Saw X. That is the latest one that came out, right? It came out, was it last year or the year before? Or
It came out in 2023.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, my friend who I got a friend who's like a big film critic, and he was amazed by it, like he loved it, and yeah, and everyone who's seen it has said it's a really good film, and I mean to
Oh
watch
yeah.
it. I need to catch up on Saw. I think I've got three to catch up on. If X is the 10th one, I presume. So yeah, got 8, 9, and 10 to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, considering that all the Saw movies did not get good reviews, well, I like from all the critics and even the original Saw. But it wasn't until when Saw X came around, like was when it was the first Saw movie to ever get good reviews, well, like from all the critics. And I mean, make of that what you will, but I mean, that definitely is huge.
Yeah, I mean, horror's always had a hard time with the film critic audience, hasn't it? Like,
Yes, it has.
like so, yeah. I mean, it's always a great thing for a horror film to get lots of. If it's just from the general movie critics and not horror ones in particular, then it's always a great thing if a horror film gets good reviews or awards or anything. Like they don't usually not privileged to that usually.
Oh, it is, yeah. And I mean, there's even some examples of films like Psycho, like when they first came out, that they didn't get the best of reviews. But it wasn't until, after some time passes on, then they start to get better reviews and all that. So,
Yeah, I remember I watched that film with Anthony Hopkins about where he played Hitchcock, and
yeah.
there was this whole thing about like Psycho being kind of like a step down for him. And would you like I don't know if horror was just seen as a bit trashy back then or like below Hitchcock, and it was a bit of a sort of bold move for him to make it, or because it wasn't what they thought people wanted from him. Or, I think that was the case anyway, and yeah, I remember hearing something about that, and yeah, it's interesting to think back. Obviously, now it's one of the most weird classics. So.
Yeah, and then obviously for Hitchcock to make that bold move, it definitely paid off considering that that is now one of his most well-known films.
Yeah, yeah, it's the one people think of, right? That like that and the birds are usually the two, which is again another form of horror, and they're the two that people mostly think of, right? Like, I mean, he's done plenty of classics, but if someone says name a Hitchcock film, usually people will say Psycho, right? That's the first thing that comes into their brain, right? And yeah, that's the forefront of his legacy, I guess.
Oh yeah, definitely, and yeah, and I mean, especially considering that after Psycho came out, me being one of those people, it's like now, like just to imagine like just how that impacted people like who go into the shower, and I mean there are people like who have been too scared to go take a shower after that movie, or whenever they go into the shower in general. Psycho is the first thing that comes to people's minds, and it's kind of well, like with Jaws, afterwards Jaws, and then made people too horrified to even go into the water. So
Yeah, I'm sure that film was probably what instigated the fear of sharks more than anything else, right? I mean, obviously, people were always scared of sharks, I'm sure, before 1970s, but but I'm sure it enhanced it a lot. Just like it with clowns, like
yeah,
that I've heard a few times that people weren't generally afraid of clowns until it came along, and now they're like almost like a famous horror figure. Like you go to any like scare attraction or anything like that, there's always a clown room. There's always something, and I think it is responsible for that. Um, that film certainly gave me a fear of clowns for a couple of years when I was like, I saw that when I was 8 years old, and I couldn't even get to the end as a kid. I was terrified, and it gave me nightmares. And yeah,
yeah, and I can imagine that nowadays with all the Terrifier movies, I can imagine that that's not really helping too.
hopefully no children. I'm not. I know lots of children have probably seen it already, but I hope they don't because it's like I can't imagine how much that would disturb me as a child seeing that.
Well, I mean, when I went to go see Terrifier 3 in theaters, there were children left and right, and all these kids actually were wearing Terrifier shirts, and all of them, like were eating up all the gore in the movie. I'm like, more power to you and your parents.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, every kid's different, and if they can handle it, then good on them. Like when I saw Terrify 3 in the cinema, like there was an amazing amount of people in sunflower glasses, which I appreciated.
Yeah, and ever since Terrifier 2 came out, I've seen so many memes about that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's an iconic look for him, and I'm sure the Santa one's up there now as well. Art as Santa is such a great image.
Oh, it is, yeah. And that's one of the things that I praise that's the one of the things that I praise about the third Terrifier about is that the previous two movies took place on Halloween, and that they didn't want to repeat themselves too much. And this is what I think adds to the universal appeal to Art the Clown is that knowing that while he absolutely can work at around Halloween, you don't have to, and that you can place art in all these different scenarios.
Yeah, it's a Christmas movie. Like it's officially a Christmas movie, right? And
It is, yeah.
like there's no arguing that one. Yeah, uh, it's a great idea, and it'll be interesting to see what they do next. It'll be,
Yeah, like and naturally that then made people afterwards go, okay, so what about Terrifier 4? Like, is that going to take place on New Year's? Is it going to take place on Valentine's Day or what? I mean, I have that gut feeling they're probably are going to go for Valentine's Day, but we'll probably have to see the film itself.
yeah, art is for all seasons, I guess, and all holidays, and yeah, they've got endless material for themselves now. So yeah,
Yeah, and I just thought of this. It even would be cool even if they set it. I mean, I know it's more of an American holiday, but if they set it on if they set it on July 4th with all of the fireworks.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, I don't know what like I don't know what else happens during Independence Day. Is it like yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but like, obviously around the fireworks, I'm sure Art can have a lot of fun killing people with them.
Right, yeah, definitely, yeah. It's just, I just kind of feel like that might limit the appeal of it since that's an American holiday, and so, it may not appeal to people in foreign countries. So there would be that. So I think Valentine's Day probably would be a more marketable holiday. So
It could be quite gnarly. Like I can imagine a lot of hearts getting thrown about, and yeah, I feel they're gonna they'll do something. They'll do something good, whatever it is, and they do. I'm sure.
yeah, like I can even see it now, like Art having his next victim, and then like he cuts a heart like on their face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I was thinking like if someone created like a obviously like a romantic setting or something, and then he ends up like just ripping their heart, like putting their heart on like the
Yeah.
bed or something, and like yeah, I don't know. It'll do something nastier than I can even imagine. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, certainly. Yeah. And hey, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you heard about this, but for Terraform 4, they actually announced that they're going to go into Art's backstory.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
Well, they did it quite a lot on the second one, right? Um, they did like the whole he was on a children's television show originally, wasn't he? Am I remembering this right? In the second one, he was actually a TV clown at one point. Or have I made it up?
Yeah, as far as what I remember, you're probably talking about that. You're probably talking about that scene, like where they had that super catchy "Oh, "Come on in the Cloud
Yeah.
Cafe."
Oh, was it just was that nothing to do with television? Sorry.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say, from what I remember, that was a dream sequence, but at the same time, it did also correspond to Sienna's reality. So
No, no, you're right. You're right. It's all coming back. Like that's coming back to me now. Like, yeah, some I don't know. That's one of the ones. The second one is a little bit blurrier than the first and third one for me for some reason in my head. The story, but yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting if they go back to like his childhood and how he sort of became Art the Clown in general. Like, it would be really interesting. Yeah, I'm all for that.
yeah, and it seems like people's opinions on that like are divided. There are some people who will say that that'll make Art less scary, knowing his backstory. And there are some people who will say that, it makes it more interesting. It's because he's been more mysterious in the other movies. So yeah, I guess it all just varies just about like how the audience is gonna respond
It
to all
depends how
that.
it depends how they handle it because I think because I sometimes have an issue with killer backstories. Like, I wasn't a big fan of Hannibal Rising. Did you ever see that?
I have
Um,
heard of it, but I have not seen it now.
no, I wasn't a big fan of like Hannibal Rising because it showed how he was like essentially a good character that then went through some stuff and became evil through like, and it gave him all his reason. It gave him reasons for cannibalism, and
Mhm.
it showed exactly how Hannibal Lecter became Hannibal Lecter from being a normal person to Hannibal Lecter. And I think that made the character less scary. And I always think of that line in Scream when, like before Hannibal Rising was made, where Billy Loomis goes like, "Do you ever know why Hannibal Lecter likes to eat people? I don't think so." Or whatever. Like it's just like, yeah, it's true. It's actually more. It was more scary when you didn't know. And I don't recommend that film if people haven't seen it. Just leave it be.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's exactly my opinion about Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Knowing that they gave him that backstory with the Thorn cult, it really made Michael Myers a lot less scary, in my own opinion, knowing that he's just a henchman of a cult.
Yeah, I never actually saw that one, but I really don't like that idea. Like, I thoroughly agree that does ruin the character more because I think when someone's such a cold-blooded killer, and a lot of the mystery is part of the scariness, and I think that if with Art the Clown in his origins, if they do it in a way where you still see him as this cold, scary killer, if he comes out of it that way, then great, we've got more story. But if they make it seem like he's a tragedy, or like and it's a tragedy how he ended up like this, then yeah, it'll definitely make him less scary. If you don't want to understand him, you don't want to understand why he does what he does. That makes him a lot less scary. Like,
Exactly. It reminds me of a saying that I once heard. If you hear that there's footsteps in your house, it's less scary if you know who it is. Like say if you know it's your brother, if you know it's your sister, if you know it's your wife, girlfriend, or whoever. But if you don't know who it is, it's a lot scarier.
yeah, no, that 100%. Yeah, it's the mystery can sometimes be the biggest fear, and I'm sure that's for people who write horror. I'm sure that's something they a lot of time take into consideration. Like it,
Mhm.
often the scariest thing is the bit before you know. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's honestly truly my biggest fear about Terrifier 4. It's look, I get it, they want to mix things up, but I just not really all for the idea of revealing Art's backstory, but we'll see.
I'll say hopefully they'll handle it well. They've handled everything great so far. I mean, if I had personal criticism, I'd say maybe the second one was a little long, but like apart from that, like they've handled everything amazing so far. So hopefully it will continue, and wherever they choose to do it, it won't ruin anything.
Oh yeah, exactly. So anyways, I think that about does her. So when can the audience here expect to see the R.I.P. Man?
Um, Not long away. With I'm doing my final scene in a few days' time, and then there's apparently two more scenes, and then it's completely wrapped. And they've been editing as they go. So Jamie, the director, has been saying that he's looking to get a rough cut finished by the 1st of June, which is not long away at all. And so hopefully by end of June, it will be starting to get out there. I don't know if there's going to be like small showings at first, and then they're going to try and take it to the festival circuit. I know they definitely want to try and make it for Fright Fest in London, which is
Nice.
if it gets to there, then that'll be great, and that'll be a great opportunity for everyone to see it, and it'll be exciting to be part of.
Oh yeah, certainly. But yeah, I definitely am excited to. But yeah, I definitely am pretty excited to finally get to watch it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've read the script, but like, my character only appears when bad things happen. So there's still a
Which
lot of
makes
film that I'm not, that I haven't been involved in. That I'm really looking forward to seeing. So
which makes sense. But yeah, just for all the remaining scenes that need to be shot, I definitely wish all of you the best of luck.
no, thank you very much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope everyone, I hope you and everyone else enjoys when it's finished. I think it's
Oh
good.
yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah. Certainly. Thank you so much. But yeah, thank you so much for your time.
No, absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. But yeah, you all be sure to give Owen a follow on his Instagram, and be sure to check out the RIP man.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, Instagram's at Owen Llewelyn. I'm on that and X, and yeah. One last thing. Sorry, quick, if it's okay. So quickly,
Yeah.
we've we've got an Indiegogo. The film's pretty much funded, but there's still plenty of like things to. We've pretty much finished the film now, but like there's plenty of like perks and that I think are still available on there. And yeah, it's indiegogo.com project/project/ the hyphen R hyphen I hyphen P hyphen man. And yeah, there's like props and credits, thank you credits, and I think there's still a voiceover role for that last day that I think they're filming on the 13th. So if people get in for there's a voice role going, I think, or something. So yeah, there's a few things.
All right, cool, awesome. But yeah, if you just send me that, but yeah, if you just want to send me that link, and yeah, and I definitely will be sure to share it.
Oh no, I will do. Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. But yeah, you all have a fantastic day.